Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by my channel. A Square Pillow Isn't Square. This is where you will find tips, techniques, tricks, tutorials, and advice, all things related to home dec sewing. Today we're going to be talking about the fastest and easiest way to gather large volumes of fabric or heavier fabric. If you started out as a craft sewer or a clothing sewer and you learned the technique where you just sew a basting stitch on your sewing machine and you pull your bobbin thread and you gather up your gathers that way, that works really well for small projects and lightweight projects. But when you're using heavy fabrics, drapery fabric, upholstery fabric, or you just have large volumes of fabric, the chances of you breaking those little threads are 100% on heavy fabric. And it's also kind of a slow way to gather a lot of fabric. So I'm going to show you the absolute fastest way to gather large volumes of fabric or heavier weight fabrics. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get started. And I'm going to show this technique on two different weights of fabric. The two types of fabric that we're going to use today this is the heavier weight one. This is a fairly thick but very soft, what I call multi-purpose fabric. And the other one is a pretty sheer fabric, and I'm using 2 layers of this sheer. Alright, the only thing you need to do this is a sewing machine that will do a zigzag stitch and a really strong thread or cord. I have a couple different kinds of threads and cords that will work here for this. The first one here is a bonded polyester. You just want something really strong like this where you can really pull on it and you just can't break it. It's thin, but it's strong, and that's a really good kind of thread to use for this. Here's another similar one, very thin, but very strong. This is a nylon, bonded nylon thread, upholstery thread. And the other thing that can work, especially on really heavier or stiffer fabrics, is a lightweight Roman shade cord. This is a 0.9 millimeter Roman shade cord that I use for stringing my smaller shades, and this is a really nice option too. So get your string, get your sewing machine set on a wide and long zigzag stitch, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, the first thing I'd like to mention is that I highly recommend finishing your edges that you're going to be gathering and your edges that you're going to be attaching your gathered product to. Go ahead and finish those with a zigzag stitch, a pinking shears, or a serge or an overlock stitch. When you're working along this long edge and gathering and adjusting your fabric and your gathers, this edge is going to fray like crazy if you don't finish it. You'll have a much neater product and it'll be a lot easier to work with if you finish it. So finish your edges. And all there is to it is you simply start with a nice long tail, and you're going to line up the edge of your foot with the edge of your fabric, and before you lower your presser foot, line this thread up right smack down the middle, right between the little groove in your foot if you have one, but right down the center. And all you're going to do is zigzag over the cord, and you just want to make sure that your zigzag stitch goes on either side of the cord and doesn't catch it in. Let me just show you. That's all there is to it. As I said, you want to make sure you stay nice and straight on your edge. And you kind of have to do 2 things at once because you also want to keep your string straight so it doesn't waver and go outside of your stitching line. So just do that all the way down. Zigzag over your thread until you get to the end. And it's going to look like this. See that? I've zigzagged right over my thread, but I haven't caught it. That's what you're shooting for. And when you get to the end, you can do a little back tack if you want. You can cut your threads close but leave yourself a decent tail to work with on each end, like so. All you do is you start at one end, doesn't really matter which end. Take a long pin or a needle and put it at the very end like that. And we're just going to use this pin as our anchoring point for this end of the string. A little knot or something might pull through. So we're just going to use this pin, and I'm going to do like a serpentine like this around my pin or needle. And that will lock that into place so it doesn't accidentally get pulled out. Now all you do, take the other end and pull. How fast was that? And while we're here, let me grab this shear and I'll just show you on the shear. Same thing. I will wrap this around a few times so I don't pull my thread out, and grab the other end, pull. Alright, so now you know the fastest and easiest way to gather your fabric for your home deck sewing project. If you like this video, found it helpful, please subscribe to my channel. There's a lot of good information on here and there's a lot more to come. Thanks so much for watching and happy sewing.